Um, Thank you for welcome to the hybrid meeting of the Leisure and Community Services Committee. Can I just ask that everyone please mute their microphone at all times unless invited to do so by myself. So just for anybody online, if they could ensure their microphones are muted. Can I now ask ICT to confirm that we have begun live streaming? Yep, that's a thumbs up. Thank you. So the first item on the agenda is apologies I've given to Hillary. Has anybody any other apologies they want to give? No indications. Okay, members. Declarations of interest, unless anybody indicates, I'll assume we'll just give these as we go. So we'll move straight into agenda item 3, which is the Health and Recreation Report. And the first item is 3.1. If Peter McVeigh, is he online? No? You happy enough? Yeah. Okay. Okay, members, I'm going to hand over to Jonathan for this one.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, members. Members, the report before you tonight is in relation to a request for an event at Loughgall Country Park. It's the park rally, and that park rally is to be held on Saturday, the 2nd of July. To facilitate the rally, members will note within the report itself that the request has come in terms of setup and logistics, that the park be closed to members of the public from Friday, the 1st of July, and also including Saturday, the 2nd of July. Members, there's further detail in the report for your consideration, but certainly happy to take any questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Jonathan. Alderman Wilson.
Yeah, thanks, Chair, and thanks, Jonathan. It's an important event in the motorsport calendar, and County Armagh, of course, is renowned for its motorsport, and Loughgall Country Park has hosted this event, as the report says, for a number of years. I've attended that myself, attended it when I was mayor and got taken around the course at quite a speed, so it was fairly enjoyable. I can see the attraction for sure for it. So given the location and the plans and the calibre of the club, they're very committed individuals. Health and safety is a huge importance for them, and I'm quite sure they'll put on a very professional event. So on that basis, I'm happy to propose. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Wilson. I have Alderman Spears in to speak.
Chairman, I've read the report, and as already been said, this particular event has been held in Loughgall for many, many years. It is a very prestigious event. It attracts a lot of folk from far and wide. It is a very good event, and I certainly have been associated with it for many years. When it first came to Loughgall in the days of Armagh City and District Council, and I have attended it as other councillors no doubt have on many occasions. So I am quite happy to support, indeed second the proposal in relation to granting the use of the facilities on the days in question. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Alderman Spears. Members, I don't see any other hands up. So are all members agreed? Yep. Okay. Good stuff. Okay, members, item 3.2, I'm going to hand back over to Jonathan. It's the Health and Recreation Facilities proposed opening hours.
Thank you, Chair. And again, members, the report before you tonight relates to proposed opening hours during the Queen's Jubilee. Members, again, just to confirm that the Spring Bank Holiday weekend has been moved to Thursday, the 2nd of June, and then the Platinum Jubilee Bank Holiday to Friday, the 3rd of June, leading into the weekend. Members, the purpose of this report is to bring before you in relation to the proposed opening hours in relation to the indoor and outdoor leisure facilities that we provide across the borough. Members will note within the report the proposed amended hours for Thursday, the 2nd of June, and also Friday, the 3rd of June. Members will note particularly in relation to the Banbridge Leisure Centre, Orchard Leisure Centre and South Lakes Leisure Centre operating on both days 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. and the 7 p.m. is to facilitate and operate the swimming lessons, but that the Tier 2 leisure centres, and that would be those dry centres, for example, Guildford, Dromore, and so on, they would operate between the hours of 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on both days. And again, members will note the proposed opening hours in relation to the outdoor facilities, with the weekend being the 4th and 5th returning to normal operating hours. So members, the report's before you tonight for consideration. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Jonathan. Alderman Spears.
Chairman, it was one of my party colleagues, Councillor Nicholson, actually raised this point, and I understand the issues here in respect to this. I have had, indeed, I've spoken to quite a number of staff across the council in various parts of the activity, outdoor and indoor. And there is a sort of a feeling, right, this is a momentous occasion in the life of any nation, and they are being asked to work, or they are, they have to work on as the facilities are open. Now, I understand that there are maybe practical issues in relation to delivering on proposal to close maybe one part of the recreation department, but yet not another. So I don't want to open up a major debate on it, but I think it's something that we should maybe discuss in committee, if that's possible, and have a clarity in relation to it, because I've spoken to officers, and it would mean we would be segregating, so to speak, maybe one section of the workforce, maybe they would be closed, and another section outdoor open. So it does obviously present challenge to us, but at the same time, I feel it's unfortunate that the folk that want to celebrate in the way that we all hopefully have the opportunity to do will not possibly be able to, because they are working. And that's all I have to say at this moment in time, Chair. And I understand maybe all the members have a view in relation to it.
Thank you, Alderman Spears. I think there's a number of issues. I think given the closeness of the timescale we are to this, but also I suppose the question would be if there's any members of staff that wish to take it off, would they be able to apply for time off for that? There'd be no real restriction on that as such, would there? I'm just conscious that there's actually swimming lessons and stuff booked in, and I know my phone rings whenever there's any kind of blockage to that whatsoever. But fair point raised. Councillor Lavery.
Thank you, Chair. I suppose the recommendation before us with the bank holiday closing hours on the Thursday and Friday, then the normal open hours on the weekend, both recognises the significance of the Jubilee weekend, but it does also take into account the user need for these facilities. When on these bank holiday days, you're going to have a lot of people off work and wanting to take part in leisure facilities, particularly families and particularly those with young children. I know especially the likes of South Lake Leisure Centre, which I can view out the window, will probably be heaving down with young kids coming in and out wishing to use those top class facilities in that leisure centre. So I think it's a balanced recommendation from officers, and to be honest, Chair, I'd be content in proposing the recommendation before us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lavery. Okay, I will need a seconder, members, for this reduced hours recommendation. Alderman Spears.
No, I'm not about to second the proposal, but I do honestly believe that this is something that is sufficient in terms of its importance, that it is brought to the council, the full council, at the end of the month, and deal with it at that particular time.
I'm not actually sure if that's going to give us much time. Alderman Spears would be slightly concerned that you'd be making a decision at the end of this month or something 3 days away. So I would not be content with that. I think if we need to have a debate, we have it here tonight. Councillor Donnelly.
Sorry, I'm just getting home from work there and just joining in. I would second it, so I would. So if you want to go ahead and take my second, that'd be fine.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Donnelly. Councillor McAlindon.
Thank you, Chair. And yes, I tend to agree with Councillor Lavery in this, and Councillor Donnelly has seconded, so I'm happy to support that as well. So thank you.
Thank you. I have 2 more speakers. Councillor Tinsley.
Thank you, Chair. And I'm just curious, I'm not clear on what Alderman Spears was actually proposing, what the counter proposal was to these, to the recommendation. If you could just clarify that for me, thank you.
I'm more than happy to bring Alderman Spears back in to do it. I think I would just sort of mention that from my understanding is there are time constraints around planning ahead and letting people know if lessons and stuff are impacted. So I was given the indication that played a part in the actual proposal that was brought to us tonight as such. But Alderman Spears, if you want to come back in and give us what your proposal is.
I still feel that it is appropriate that this particular day in the life of this nation is, in my opinion, of great significance. And I think that, I'm quite sure that there's a lot of people that work in our facilities across the area that have a desire to celebrate it in a way that the rest of the community are able to. And to some extent, that has been denied to them by virtue of the fact that they have to work. Well, yes, if the facilities is open, they have to work. And I just feel that is unfair. I had hoped that there was a way whereby that could be dealt with. And my party colleague made the point at the last meeting about closing the leisure centres. And I understand that does present potentially an issue as regards the use of outdoor facilities and them being closed. So in that context, I felt that it was appropriate that we possibly go into committee and discuss at length the issues of it. But I certainly would be happy to propose that we do close the leisure centres on the day in question.
Okay, so we have a proposal from Alderman Spears. I think there is just one point of clarity that I think is important that we note here. Alderman Spears, you're insinuating that people who don't want to work on this date will be forced to work. That is factually incorrect. We've clarified tonight that if anybody wishes to book that date off, they can actually do it. What you're proposing is we close the facility so any member of the public who is booked in or chooses to use it on that date, that's what you're actually talking about here. So I'm just clarifying so that everyone who's watching, because I don't particularly want this to go into committee, I think it's a fair conversation to be having out in the open. What you're actually suggesting here tonight, I think, is untrue. There's nobody being forced to work, because if a member of staff chooses to not work on those days, I would like to think that our council will facilitate that and no one should be persecuted in any way for choosing to take that day off. I think it's a momentous day, certainly is for a large section of the community, and that should be respected. So any member of staff that wish to do it, I think that's fair. But I think you're wrong in what you're saying, that people will be forced to work. So I think that's important that members of the public understand that. Councillor Baxter.
Thank you. I was going to call you Lord Mayor there, but maybe a bit premature. Thank you, Chairman. I can see probably the sentiment where Councillor Nicholson brought it originally and what Alderman Spears is proposing tonight. But it's been outlined that staff don't have to work if they don't want to. And we've seen recently, even with the strikes, when staff aren't working, we're in a win situation where we maybe have to close some facilities or even close parks and close public toilets and aren't doing street cleaning and that type of thing. I think for one day, if there's going to be an influx of staff want to take the day off, and we do have to make a decision, maybe to close a facility. But I think it's more a management issue. And if management have enough staff to open the facility, I think it would probably be best just to open them. And I know on other days, obviously, whenever you book holidays, the managers look at it and say, well, there's so many booked off that day, so actually we're not going to give you the day. But I think in this case, maybe a bit more flexibility, and anybody who wants to take the day off and celebrate, the Jubilee should be afforded that opportunity. And I think management should really look at what facilities then are going to be impacted, if any. So I think really the original proposal probably allows for all of that, to be honest. And I think a separate proposal just to close leisure centres is maybe not a very prudent move by the council. I'm interested to hear what others say, but I don't think we should be saying we're closing leisure centres. But anybody who wants to take a day off to celebrate the Queen's Jubilee should be allowed to do so. Because there may be some families, who don't get a lot of days off in the year together, might want to celebrate the Jubilee by going to leisure centres or parks or whatever. So I'm probably fairly content with the proposal.
Thank you, Councillor Baxter. I'm actually minded to agree with pretty much everything you said there. I think it's an operational issue. And I think, Jonathan, if you want to come back in, I would assume the decision will have to be made in terms of how many staff would actually choose to take the day off. Do you want to come in and clarify that for us?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I suppose in terms of requests for annual leave and such like, we would have to assess the volume of requests for annual leave and balance that against the services that we would provide in those facilities, and then take those operational decisions in relation to what services we could provide in those facilities. But we could only really do that once we know the numbers of people that would wish to take annual leave during that period. So I do suppose that's a piece of work that we, if members were so minded, that we would have to understand and then make the operational decisions based on that. So whether or not members were minded to give officers delegated authority operationally to make those decisions based on the feedback that we would get from staff in those particular centres or facilities, that's something then that we could work through and then keep party leaders updated accordingly.
Okay, Councillor Baxter, you want to come back in?
Yeah, just briefly, just on that, I think whenever this discussion was at full council, I think I had proposed that we give this committee full delegated authority anyhow. So that authority is ready for this committee. So happy with that. Thank you.
So just for clarity, if we were minded, and I'm going to bring it back in, Alderman Spears, I know you're waiting to speak on this. If we were so minded tonight that we could, in theory, pass this, but also give officers delegated authority that should there be an influx of staff that aren't able to work or want to take out for holidays, that they would be able to make an operational call, that they would be unable to staff the leisure centre, would that be okay? Sorry, Alderman Spears, I'll bring you back in now.
Chairman, a reference has been made to the fact that people are not forced to work. I certainly welcome that. I just don't know the semantics of that. If there's entire staff within a facility that wants off, well, I don't know how we cope with that, but it appears that there isn't support within the council to move to close the facilities. So in that context, I will not press my proposal, but I must say I'm extremely disappointed that we're not affording the priority for that particular day that I believe that it should be afforded. But in any event, it appears that there's not a mind to do that within council, and in that context, I will withdraw my proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Spears. Councillor Cosby.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I mean, to say we're not affording the opportunity is unfair and actually factually incorrect. What we have actually is, rather than a blanket closure of facilities, is a sensible solution that allows those who wish to take the leave to take the day, and for those who wish to avail of our leisure centres to avail of our leisure centres. You know, these two things don't have to be mutually exclusive to each other. And what we have got is, you know, a middle ground that, to be honest, if the proposal had been thought out before it was thrown into a council meeting on the hoof, we wouldn't be sitting here discussing it like this, because it's very clear that it's not been thought through. It has just been thrown out, maybe, you know, for some other reason. And, you know, we're not getting anywhere, really, by accusing some members in this chamber of not affording people the opportunity to get a day off to mark Her Majesty the Queen's Jubilee. That's just not true. In fact, it couldn't be further from the truth. But what we have done is we've enabled our facilities where possible to remain open so that the general public can access them. And if a family wants to go for a swim in one of our leisure centres in the morning before they have an afternoon party in Loughgall Park, then they can do that instead of denying them the opportunity. So we have actually, what we have here is the best of all worlds. And because one particular member doesn't necessarily get his way, it's unfair to say that other members are denying our staff the opportunity for a day off. That is simply not true. And I wanted to be on record that it's not true.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Cosby. Councillor McAlinton, do you wish to speak on this?
Yeah, Chair, just briefly, and thanks for letting me back in again. Yeah, look, Chair, I respect the importance of the occasion, and yes, the recommendation to me is a sensible solution around it all. So that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Okay, so just for clarity, Councillor Lowry and Councillor Donnelly, are you happy that the proposal contains the caveat that we've discussed?
Yes, I am. If everybody else is, yeah, I think that's the best way forward.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, happy to include that caveat. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are you happy that's recorded as such,
Yes,
Hilary?
right.
Thank you. Okay, members, all agreed? Okay, item 3.3 is an item for information. If anyone has any questions relating to that, do they wish to indicate now? Okay, no one has indicated. All right, thank you. We're on to agenda item 4, members, and it's a decision item, and it's 4.1, the volunteering awards. I'm going to bring Seamus in on this.
Thank you, Chair. This item is in relation to the EPIC Volunteering Awards. It's a civic recognition and endorsement. Recommendation before members is to approve the request to provide the civic recognition and endorsement to local recipients of the Gold EPIC Award. The report itself is there before members. It's in relation to the Craigavon and Banbridge Volunteer Bureau Awards. It would cover the whole of the borough. The Craigavon Volunteer Bureau are proposing 3 volunteering awards, bronze, silver and gold, for representing 50 hours of voluntary service, 100 hours of voluntary service and 200 hours of voluntary service. The request came in that council would support through by supporting the gold awards at 200 hours. In relation to the process itself, officers have been in contact with Craigavon and Banbridge Volunteer Bureau. They have reviewed the organisation themselves. You can see some of the due diligence items that officers have completed, and there is also the process to qualify for the award, and that is attached in the appendices, which is the overview to the EPIC award scheme. EPIC itself is empowering people and communities is what it stands for. In terms of financial implications, the prediction is that there'll be 2 award ceremonies per year, and that either the Lord Mayor or suitable presentation will be made to those community organisations and people receiving the award. So the award is before members for consideration.
Thank you, Seamus. Councillor Cosby.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. But yeah, just to say that, you know, this item that's before us is, in my view, quite significant because it effectively is going to replace what was known as the Millennium Volunteer Award that would have been available to the community, which was previously managed by Volunteer Now, and a subsequent withdrawal of funding from, I believe, potentially the Education Authority in that regard, left, I guess, volunteer recognition in Northern Ireland broadly somewhat lacking of I guess, formal recognition of some description. So the approach that's been taken here by the organisations involved has to be welcomed, and I commend them for it. And officers I know who've been involved in working in this, because having had the privilege of serving as Lord Mayor, and I know everybody else has done the same role or served as Deputy Lord Mayor, will have been about the borough to see the level of work that volunteers do, and how much investment that they put in their time, their energy and their skills into the lives of their communities. And we couldn't do without them. So the least we can do is acknowledge their efforts, acknowledge the hours that they put in, and give them some credit for that. And I know we do the community awards and those things, and they're all nice and good, but to actually get your 50-hour certificate, your 200-hour certificate are huge achievements. And particularly for young volunteers when they're looking at UCAS and they're looking at applying for university, and maybe getting their first job, it shows a level of commitment from them. And I would hope that we could maybe help support these organisations to bring this EPIC volunteer recognition programme some notoriety in terms of the achievement that it is actually almost like for like of what Millennium Volunteers was. And I believe that was recognised by the likes of UCAS and others. And we maybe need to put this on the same wavelength. And as a council, if we can support that going forward, we absolutely should. So I commend the organisation for bringing it. I'm happy to support it, happy to propose that we accept the recommendation. And I'm happy that officers would continue to work with these groups to make sure that this has the credibility and recognition that it deserves. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cosby. Councillor Lavery.
Thank you, Chair. I find myself in the lovely position of completely agreeing with Councillor Cosby's contributions. Chair, like yourself and many other members, you see in our roles the amount of volunteers that are in the community who give up their time selflessly, whether it's doing the likes of litter picks, volunteering, substantial time with sporting clubs, senior citizens groups, and everything else in between. They are the glue that keeps our community together. So any kind of additional recommendations or, things like this, programs like this, which can highlight the good work that goes on in the community, I think we have to wholly support that. So I'd be content to second the proposal. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Lavery. Councillor Tinsley.
Thank you, Chair. And with having been involved in the previous programme, putting a number of young people through the previous programme, I think it's excellent. There, a lot of these programmes, sometimes you don't find, I'm a big person in the evaluation, and a lot of them don't necessarily evaluate what has gone on and they just get an award, whereas this one really drills down into what the young person has done and has achieved. So really just happy to support the recommendation, and hopefully it'll continue on in the same light as previous. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Tinsley. Councillor Catherine Nelson.
Thank you, Chair. And it's just to echo the sentiments that have been said so far, to commend Donna and her team for the vision, and also to thank Seamus and his team for working to put this together. Happy to, I know it has been seconded, but certainly happy to endorse.
Thank you, Councillor Nelson. Councillor McAlinton.
Thank you, Chair. And yes, like the rest of the members, I want to add my support to that as well. I think it's an excellent initiative, and I know in my own community and many volunteers, and especially this last couple of years, played a vital role in supporting the community during COVID. So I know that they do this not to be recognised or get awards, but to do it out of the love of the community and the passion for the community. So it's well done to the officers for bringing this forward. So thank you.
Okay, thank you all for your contributions, and no doubt that message of full cross-party support is there for these awards. And I would also like to take the opportunity to say thank you to the officers who are involved in this. It's definitely a good news story for us. Okay, members, all agreed on that, no doubt. So with that, we will move on to correspondence, of which I believe we have none. So we are going to move into confidential, but I just want to take the opportunity to welcome Councillor Park from the benches. This is my first meeting with yourself in place. I have met you previously and we've had some interesting conversations, but it's good to see you in the chamber, and I would welcome you here, although I'll not be chair for much longer. It's still good to see you in, and I'm sure you'll have a very positive impact on the committee. So good to see you. All right, members, we're going to move into confidential. I shall find my lines. Okay, members and online viewers, in accordance with Schedule 6 of the Local Government Act, we will now be moving into a confidential session of the Council. This means that we will be turning off the public feed of the meeting. This will be returned when the meeting is restarted. Can I ask the ICT officer to please turn off the feed and confirm with me when the confidential section of the meeting can proceed? proceed again in open session. That's us. We're back live for anybody who's watching. Okay, members, agenda item 8, any other relevant business? I have not been notified of any, so Councillor McNeil is maybe going to try and pull a fly one here.
Thank you for that, Chair. No, I tried to get my hand raised earlier on at the start of the meeting, and it's just to send apologies for Grania O'Neill for missing tonight's meeting, if that can be noted. Thank you, Chair.
I'd you off that one. No bother. Okay, members, thank you for your patience and your input tonight. It was an interesting debate and session, so thank you, and safe home to all the officers as well. Thank you.